Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. If you are new to my channel, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, so you can join our tech family. If it is informative to you, please like our video, share it with your friends so they can get help with these video, and don't forget to press all notification bell icon so you get regular update and don't miss any single video.
Now, again, I've got to apologize to you folks because I was really looking forward to showing you this on a live Linux box, but we have that same limitation as far as the wireless NIC is concerned and getting into a virtual machine. But because I love you, I've done some screenshots to kind of show you what would end up happening. Let's first take a look at Reaver. Reaver, again, is a neat little utility that at its basic element allows me to actually hack WPA2 via WPS. Now, if you're not familiar with WPS, this is the nifty little protocol that allows home users who don't know anything about wireless security and might be intimidated by the magical blue box with antennas on the back of it to be able to push a button and type in a code on their device to link it into the Wi-Fi network. The security flaw here is that the WPS key is burnt in. So what we can do is we can take advantage of this by trying to recover the WPA's pin within a couple of hours using just a simple brute force attack. And with the WPS pin, we can then get the network's WPA, WPA2 pre-shared key, which we could then offline crack if we want to. So how would we implement this? Well, it depends on what you know. But at its very basic level, we could just simply type in Reaver with a -I for interface, followed by a -B, which would be the BSSID of the target. But you may not know all those things. The first thing you need to understand is, does the target have WPS enabled? If not, this isn't going to work. We also need to make sure we know what the BSSID is of the network. So we're going to dip back into our utility belt and break out the error monitoring tool again. If you remember, we just simply type in error monitoring with a start on WLAN 1. Again, this would all depend on if your wireless was WLAN 1, it could be WLAN 0. But what we would see as a result is something like this. It does show us some processes that could possibly create some problems for us. But here at the bottom, you see WLAN 1 chipset being Raylink and my driver. And you can see that I'm now in monitoring mode. Well, after we've done that, the next step would be then to type in arrow dumping with the parameter of mod 0. This is simply a alias for WLAN 0 in this case to be in promiscuous mode, meaning it's going to intercept traffic. And my results would give me something like this. Now you'll notice here that the Belkin 3D94 is using WPA2. So I want to make note of not only the channel again, I'm always looking at channels, I don't know why, as well as the BSSID. So then I take that information, and you remember the first statement where we used Reaver? Well, I'm going to type it in again, but now I know the interface is going to be mon0 followed by a -B, and then put in the BSSID. Then I can do a double V here, which is going to give me very verbose output, and I would see something like this. I should preference that. It might take a couple hours before I see something like this. Depends on the key itself. In this case, I was able to crack the pin in 3 seconds because, let's face it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 0 is not a very strong pin.
Yeah, DL, that's cool, but how about just hacking the passcode for WPA or WPA2?
Well, in order to do something like that, we can go back to our suite of error cracking. Again, the first thing you'd want to do is go through and do an error monitoring to disconnect from all the wireless networks. And you would see something like this respond. Again, showing your WLAN interface as well as your chipset and your driver. We would then want to start up our error monitoring again by doing our error monitoring start command. And we would verify that in fact we did get an monitoring mode enabled on, in this case here, mon0. Our next step would then be to type in arrow dumping followed by the name of the monitoring interface, in which case we would see something like this, which would show us now a list of all of our wireless networks in our area. So I'm going to be focusing in on this top one here that has D-Link as the ESSID and the BSSID ending in D5. My next step is I'm going to then go through and do an arrow dump using channel 11 because that's the channel that was on. It's BSSID, again ending in D5, and then specifying this neat parameter called -W and then a path statement followed by again mon1 being the network interface. Now the -W and the file path command specifies where arrow dump will save any intercepted four-way handshakes. In this case here, I'm going to just save it on the desktop. And then after some time, I should actually see a client machine pop in. And if it doesn't, we can obviously do the deauthorization attack that we've talked about before. But in this case here, you can see that I've got a station that's hitting with a MAC address that's ending in 4E. Now, if I switch over to a second terminal and leave arrow dump continually running. Now this should all look familiar because the next step that we did previously is we used airplane. Again, we specified the 0, which is the shortcut for a deauthentication attack. Again, the number 2 being the number of packets I'd like to send, followed by the A for the access point MAC address or BSSID, and a -C for the client MAC address, and again specifying mon 0 for the network interface. When you hit enter, you're going to get a response back, and one of the lines you're going to look for is this one, WPA handshake and the MAC address of the access point. Swing! This means that I just captured the four-way handshake, and the password is now in my directory on my desktop. And from here, the whole process of cracking that is just on your preferences. The file that's stored on your desktop is going to be called a .cap file. So in this case here, I could use aircracking with the -A for attack, and the attack mechanism will be the number 2, not the number of packets. This is the method, which in this case here is a WPA method. The B stands for the BSSID of the router, followed by the W, which is in this case here referencing a word list, a dictionary word list. And then the root desktop /*cap path is to use all the cap files in that structure with that attack. Now, the cracking will only happen if the word's in the word list that I've specified here. And depending on the length of your word list, it could take you some time. But eventually, if you're lucky, you might get something like this as your result, showing you that the passphrase was discovered and that the passphrase is not secure at all. I might recommend at this point of changing someone's password. Now, just because we're not using PCs anymore doesn't mean that we don't have this capability. As far as mobile cracking is concerned, there are several products out there that work on both Android and Apple devices. I'm not going to tell you which ones are the best, just note they exist out there and be aware of them so that when you are inventorying individuals' devices, you understand what the software is and what it's designed to do. Yeah, look at that. They even have a Reaver version for Android. Woohoo!
We hope you enjoyed the video and found value in the content. We value your feedback. If you have any questions or suggestions, feel free to post them in the comments section or contact us directly via our social platforms. Thanks for watching.